Hello, I am working on this signature swap in the series, and it's time to put together my cover. So what I'm doing is I'm putting all my signatures together, and I know that the cover was supposed to be about 4.5 inches by 6, I think. Yes, it was 6. So I want my cover to be a little wider, so I'm going to say 5 instead of 4.5. I'm going to add a 1/2 inch or 4 3/4, either way. And then 6, I'm going to go maybe 6.5. So I'm going to say 6.5. Let's see, which adds 1/4 of an inch either way this way. But to make this 5 would add, I'm looking at how much stuff is sticking out, and I think I do need to add a 1/2 inch this way. So 5, plus I need a 5 in the back, so that's 10, right? So now I have 10 inches, but I also need to figure out how big my spine is going to be. So I'm going to just kind of hold this together and see how squished I want to make this, if that makes sense. I've got to look to see how much I want to squish that. I fear that if I make it too big, like by measuring this, it's going to be just too fat. And I think 2 inches is about as big as I want to go on that spine. It gives it room to flex without being too squished. So I think 2 inches. So we said 10. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 2 will make that 12. So I need cardstock or something that's 12 inches by 6.5. Okay, so what I did was I grabbed a file folder because I have a lot of these and it's really easy to do a project out of them and use them for covers. So I need to score at 5. This is 12 by 6.5. I'm going to score at 5 so I have like the front cover. Flip it around and score at 5 again. Now, you'll notice that there are a lot of score lines on here already because that's what, these file folders are like. I'm not going to worry about that because if I just like back that up with paper, it will add stability to it. Okay, I'm going to fold these now in the score lines and burnish them. And then I will check to make sure this is the size that I want. And I don't know why I just put those back in the bag. Here we go. Here's all 4 of them. And I will open this up and see if that's a good fit. And yes, I am thrilled with that. I think that's going to be perfect for me. That's what I want. So, now's the time to play around with it and make sure it's what I want. Okay, so what I decided, these are falling apart. What I decided was, I think I want to try to cover the outside in fabric. Never done that before. And I was at the thrift store and I found this material. And I don't always pre-wash the material when I craft with it. But when I went to open this up, it had been in storage at someone's house and it just really had some stains and things on it. So I did pre-wash it. I'm going to iron it. And then I think I will cut out a section. I mean, I could do it this way and I could actually wrap it, around the book like this, and that might be helpful. Or I could even go as far as here. This is, let's say if this is the inside of the book, okay? I could go all the way up to that spine. I'm not sure yet, but first thing I know I do want to do is I want to reinforce this part here because this is where I'm going to be punching holes and I'm going to be, running my threads through it. So I want to reinforce this part here. And I have used packing tape before. I have used Mod Podge. I think I will use Mod Podge, and I'll just kind of paint like here outside the fold line and up through the area where I'm going to be running those holes through in all my threads. So let's just slide this under here, which is a non-stick mat. Make sure I'm, yes, doing the inside of this. I don't want to do the outside because that's where my fabric is going to go. Normally I would pour this out into a little cup or something. I'm going to just be lazy and put it right, use my brush right inside there. So, there we go. 1 coat is probably enough. Sometimes I use 2, but this just gives it a little extra stability on those holes. Plus, I will have the fabric on the outside of it, and that will help as well. Let me get this little bump off of there. So just let this dry about 15-20 minutes, and we'll be good to go. Okay, that's pretty much dry. I ended up putting 2 coats on there. It's got only one little spot of dampness, but in the meantime, I cut a piece of fabric wider than what I wanted, and I made sure that I cut heat and bond out and ironed it to that larger than what I wanted. I could cut it exact, but I was afraid that in ironing it onto this, I might just kind of get a little cattywampus, and that wouldn't be what I wanted. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to peel this off, the backing. And you should be able to see how shiny this is here. And then I'm going to iron that, no steam, iron that and press it onto the back here. And then I will trim the excess off. So what I'm going to do, because this will iron to my iron, I'm going to use some a non-stick Teflon pad over that to press it. Okay, now I'm not going to use my sewing scissors to trim this off because I don't want to accidentally cut on the cardstock or the file folder. So I'm just going to trim this off, the excess. So the other thing I want to do is make sure that I've got it's ironed really well around here. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to put that Teflon sheet back over it and press it one more time right around the edges. All right, that's done. And this is going to be my back, this one with all the pre-folds in it. Let me get this out of the way. So what I decided is I do want to put some backing on this with some pretty cardstock. So I cut these out the same height, but only a 1/4 inch shorter this way, just so it gives me, I don't mess with my fold line here. And then I cut the back of that, which is this really dark charcoal. And I'm going to glue this to that. And seeing as it's going to be a pocket, I'm just going to use paper glue there. This comes out really fast. I have to be careful not to squeeze hard. And this is the art glitter glue. Okay. Now this little edge, decorative edge that I put on there is a die by Lawn Fawn that I got from Auntie Vera's Scrap and Craft in my guest designer kit. Very good. So that's the cover at this point. Now I scored these, but I need to get that fabric ready to fold and cooperate with me. Okay, that's my cover at this point. I have this image that I purchased online on an Etsy shop. It's a floral image and it's a digital image. So I printed it out and I ironed the heat and bond to the back of it and then sent it to my Cameo to cut it out, and then I peeled it off. Now it's got the heat and bond on the back. I'm going to iron it and I'm going to look and see if that's where I want it to go, and I think so. Of course I could go this way. I think that's probably the best way here. Okay, so I'll iron that on, and then I'm looking through all my trims, and I think what I would like to do is run this trim through there and sew that in place, and then use some maybe Fabri-Tac to glue all these down, and maybe, I think I have enough, then I can do the top and bottom, you know, like this, and across the top. Let's see if I like the way that looks on the cover, and I think I do. And then I do have some of this, it's Hug Snug ribbon here that's washable and can be dyed too. So I think what I'll do is I'll make ties and then I'll sew those onto here before I'll do all that. I think I'll sew these last so they're not in my way when I'm trying to stitch my images here. But I do want to get, not my images, when I go to stitch my signatures in. But I think I do need to put this on there and this on there before I sew the signatures in. So I'm going to center this and I'm going to iron this, press this out so it's flat, and then sew it on. Okay, I ended up, so I ironed this on, but I ended up gluing this on with Fabri-Tac. I thought that would be better to get that solidly attached there. But what I want to do now is I'm going to see if I can run a stitch all the way across here, down and across and up here. I'm not going to do any stitching around here, I don't think. I'll wait and see what I think the journal looks like. But I will stitch right around there. I'll be back. Okay, all done with the stitching, and you can see how that looks right there. Now I could have sewed this on as I was going around, but like I said, I don't want this flopping around in my way when I'm trying to stitch the signatures in here. So I didn't do that. So now in order to figure out where the signatures go, I'm going to make a piece of paper this size, and I'm going to punch the holes in it to mark where I should punch the holes in my cover and in my signatures. So I have drawn lines 1/4 of an inch in, and then see, this is 1/2 inch from that, 1/2 inch from that, 1/2 inch from that. So it's 1/4, 3/4, 1 1/4, 1 3/4. And then I need to mark right in the center here of each of these. And then I need another one. I need 2 more, somewhere here and somewhere here. So I don't have to go exactly in the middle. It's totally up to me what I do with that, but I think I might even go a little closer here than halfway between these 2 lines. It's like I said, it's up to me, it's up to you. There's no die-hard rule for this. I'm thinking I'll go 5 1/2, which is 1 inch from the end here. Let's do that. And the other thing I want to do is mark which way is up. Because if I do some of my holes this way, and then on my signatures I accidentally get it turned around, it may be a little different, and I want them all to be exactly the same. So all I have to do is put this on here and poke a hole through every one of these using a piercing tool into styrofoam. I got this block of styrofoam as packing material, and I'm going to do it from this end, I think. So I'm poking my holes down, and they're pretty from this side. Get this lined up here. I know I'm off camera. So if you want, you can use a binder clip to hold that in place while you're doing it so it's not shifting around. Like that. And one on the bottom. Okay, then all you do is poke holes. Okay, now I'm going to use the same piece here to poke holes in all of my signatures here, and I'm just going to do one at a time. I'm not going to poke all the holes in advance. And then what you need is, I usually use waxed linen thread because it doesn't stretch and give out over time, whereas if you use some other materials, after a while they might stretch out, and then your signature is no longer tight inside the book that you put it in. So let's just show you with the first one. You know, you get everything lined up here. Is that the center? Yes, that's the center. You want to make sure you're in the center of all of these. Sometimes if you have paper clips, you can remove them so they're not in your way while you're stitching. And let me pick out what color of wax linen thread I want. I have quite a bit of it. Some of it I had ordered, if you order bulk online. Let's see though. I think this is 2 berry color. This is 2 brown. The dark green would look good with those leaves, so I think that's what I'll do is go with the dark green. Open this up and take out how much I think I'll need. So I know that I'm going to need room to tie, go to the middle, to the right, the left, back through the middle, and room to tie again. So that's about good right there, and give myself a little extra. And that's what I'm going to use. Let me get my needle. Okay, I've got that. Now I need to poke holes in this and open that up. Get everything lined up. Make sure the creases are right where they need to be. And it helps if I clip this all together so they don't slide around while I'm working. Okay, and I need this. And I'm going to try and fold it on one of these lines here. It'll make it a lot easier for me. To put this into the crease here, like this. Okay, now this, oops, the arrow goes to the top. You'll notice that this is wider than this by looking over here and seeing how much is hanging out. Okay, back to our styrofoam. Okay, get that angled up and poke those holes in there again. Then I want to take my thread, here we go, on an embroidery needle, go down through the center, leaving enough out to tie. I'm going to hold that so it doesn't escape, and I'm going to go through the center of this as well. Make sure that's snug, and then come up through the top right here. Make sure it's snug and come up through the top on this one. Like that. Now when you want to snug it, pull this way. Don't pull this way. Okay, cross over, and I'm going to go down the left side, the left hole, which is the bottom of the notebook actually. I'm calling it left, but it's actually the bottom of the notebook. Okay, come on. There we go. And then back up through the center again. Now when I do this, I notice that this thread is on the right side of this long one. When I want to come up, I want to come up on the opposite side. And this is what I was doing before I realized that there actually was this was actually known as the pamphlet stitch. I thought I made something up. Just goes to show we're not really making anything up sometimes. Okay, I want to make sure I come up on the other side of that. There we go. Okay, there. Now I've got this thread coming on this side of this long one, making sure everything's tight. Okay, and I'm going to tie a double knot, right over left, left over right, and maybe even another one for good measure. Now I can trim these down a little bit or a lot, and what I like to do next is to make a little tab over each one of these. So, like, I can punch 4 hearts. These might be a little big. Like this. Just use this. Oops. Secure that in there. A little bit over the top. And then give it a quick staple right there to make sure that holds. So that's one thing you can do with those ends there. And then I just need to do this one as well. I can take this off, and that's the first signature in the book. So now I'm going to put all the other signatures in here off camera. Okay, I have all of those sewn in, and it's just luscious. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? This is what the spine looks like. Some people choose to put lace over this, but I like the look of it, and I think the green looks good to bring out the green here I have. So like I said, I want to put ties on it with this. So I'm just going to fold it over for a little support and tack one down here and one on the back and sew them in place. So I'm thinking about maybe this long, and that way if I want to, I can come back later and trim it down a little bit, but I want it long enough to be able to possibly tie a bow. You know, we'll see. So there we go. Okay, let me get this tacked down with a little bit of the Fabri-Tac before trying to sew it on the machine. And I am going to tack it here on the outside like this, and I will stitch it several times going down. Maybe I should measure where the middle is on this so I get it kind of centered. I think that would be a good idea. Okay, I'm going to go sew that. Okay, this is sewn on, and I can just tie a loose bow right there. like that. And that's the cover. I think I will probably take, you know, think about it for a while. And this is what I usually do. I think about it, I come back. Maybe I will take the same flower and layer some of it up in dimensions. Maybe I will take some Wink of Stella and accent some of the flowers, but I do want to think about it. Right now I'm very happy with how it turned out. And you can see the stitches right there on the getting that is sewed in place. So that's the project. Thank you for watching. This has been a long series, and thank you for sticking with me through the whole thing.